Alright, you guys, this is section 8.2 called Special Right Triangles. Another way you could title it is 45, 45, 90 right triangles and 30, 60, 90 right triangles. So when you see triangles that have these angle measures in them, then there's some special relationships that hold true. Before we go over the rules, however, you have to know how to simplify fractions when there's radicals in the bottom or in the denominator. So it's not allowed to have a radical in the denominator. So to get rid of it, you multiply both top and bottom of the fraction by that radical. So let me give you a couple of examples, and I want you to try some. Okay. First of all, my radical is 3, so I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by the square root of 3. And I get on top 4 square roots of 3. And on the bottom, when you multiply the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, you get the square root of 9. So what basically happens is whatever's underneath the radical, it just stays there. Always check to see if you can simplify. I'm not interested in the radical. I'm interested in the 4 and the 3. It can't be, so this is my final answer. All right, I'm going to do another one. The radical on the bottom is the square root of 2. So I multiply both top and bottom by the square root of 2. 1 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 2. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. I'm done. I cannot cancel these 2's because this 2 is underneath the radical sign. It's not a number on the outside, so you leave it alone. That is your final answer. Okay, this one I'm going to multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. So on top I have 12 square roots of 3. On the bottom I have a 3. Now be careful. This one can be simplified because the number 12 over 3 can be reduced down. 12 divided by 3 is equal to 4. So my final answer is 4 with the square root of 3 next to it. All right, this is a little bit trickier. The only radical is the 3 on the bottom. I don't care about the 2. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. Now on top, 1 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 3. On the bottom, the 2 is still there, but now it's being multiplied by 3. Because the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. My final answer, square root of 3 on top, 6 on the bottom. And again, I cannot cancel this 3 with this 6 because the 3 is in the radical. So that is my final answer. Okay, I want you guys to give it a try. Pause the video first because I'm going to go ahead and give you the answers to these problems. And when you're done, you can check with my answers. All right, so go ahead and pause the video, you try, and then I'm going to give you the answers to these problems. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I multiply top and bottom by the square root of 2. I get 5 square root of 2 over 2. Final answer. This one I multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. I get 8 square roots of 3 on top over 3 on the bottom. It cannot be simplified. This one I multiply top and bottom by the square root of 2. On top, I have 10 square roots of 2. On the bottom, I have 2. This can be simplified. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I have 5 square roots of 2. Final answer. This one, I multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. On top, square root of 2 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 6. I can multiply numbers in the radical. Square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. Cannot be simplified. That's my final answer. All right, now we have already written down our rules for 30, 60, 90s in our theorem books. But remember, I want you to recall, we also wrote down, there's an easy way of simplifying called the 1, 2, 3. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. And I have to make sure you know how to label your triangles. And so here's the rules of labeling. All right, and I'm going to demonstrate it on the triangles below us. So all we're going to do is label 1s, 2s, and 3s. Okay, here's the rule. The shortest sides, which are opposite the smallest angles, they always get a 1. The hypotenuse, no matter where it is, always gets a number 2. If it's a third side, it always gets a number 3. The last number you wrote, which, by the way, happens to be the biggest number as well, so if you want to write biggest, always gets the radical sign, and then they all get a letter A next to it. If there's a radical sign, put the A in front of the radical sign. So let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. Okay, this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Even though I didn't put the 45 degrees in there, it's assumed to be a 45-degree angle. All right, so the 45-degree angles, since they're the same, they're both the smallest because 45 is smaller than 90. So both of these get 1s. The hypotenuse gets a 2. Now I'm done with my numbers. The biggest number gets the square root sign. That's great. And then they all get A's. So this is an A, this is an A, this is an A, square roots of 2, and I've just labeled my triangle, A, square roots of 2. I don't usually include the 1, I just call this A instead of 1A. All right, we're going to do the same thing. Once again, I have not labeled every angle. This is 30 degrees, this is 90 degrees, this would have to be 60 degrees. So the smallest side is opposite the smallest angle. This is my smallest angle, go opposite. There's my starting point, 1. Hypotenuse across a 90, 2. This does have a third side, 3. The biggest number gets the radical. There's my biggest number, and they all get A's. 1A, 2A, A square roots of 3. I've just labeled my triangle. Okay, you guys try to do the rest. Pause the video or else you're going to see the answers. You try it, and then I'm going to move on and go ahead and label these, and you can compare your answers. Okay, 1, 1, 2, square root, A, square roots of 2. This is 1, 2, 3, square root, A, square roots of 3. 1, 1, 2, square root, A, square roots of 2. 1, 2, 3, square root, A, square roots of 3. All right, any problems labeling? Because now we're going to do it for real and use our labels to help us find answers to triangles. So we're going to do these labels and how to simplify with square roots to find answers of sides in radical form. Now I want to give you a word of caution. The problems I'm giving to you as examples are challenging, more challenging than even some of your homework problems. So if you can understand these, then you're going to understand your homework without any difficulty. Your homework is actually going to be easier than these examples. I want to give you the hard examples so if you come across a hard problem, you'll understand. Okay, anytime you have 45, 45, 90 triangles, you have to label them with the labels we just did. So this is our 1A, this is our 1A, and this is going to be our A square roots of 2. So you have to be able to put the labels inside the triangles. Remember, the shorter sides get 1, 1, hypotenuse gets 2, square root, and they all get the letters A's. Now, you have to have a label. You have to have a number to work with. And I do. This is my number I get to work with. What do I know? That my A is equal to 5 square roots of 6. That's what I know. I'm not trying to find that. What I'm trying to find is this. I'm trying to find H. And I know my H is equal to A square roots of 2. But I know what A is. So I'm going to take this value of A and substitute it in for this A. So my H is now 5 square roots of 6 times the square root of 2. We're going to simplify this to give us 5 square roots of 12, because 6 times 2 is 12. Now, it is in radical form. You have to make sure it's in simplest radical form. Are there perfect squares in 12? Can you simplify this? Of course you can. There's a square root of 4 that comes out. So now I have 5 times square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 3. Final answer, 10 square roots of 3. This is equal to my H. And I'm done with the problem. Okay, we're going to do an example 2. Again, a 45, 45, 90 triangle. You have to be able to put the rules in. Okay, here's my rules. This side is my A. This side is my A. This is my A square roots of 2. Now, what do I know? I'm given this number. I know A square roots of 2 is equal to 22. I set my rule equal to the number that's given to me. This is the rule, and this is the given number. We're going to solve this for A. I always want A. You want A, because that's the rule. So I'm going to get A by itself, I have to divide by the square root of 2. A equals. Now, here's why we learned and reviewed how to simplify with radicals. You're not allowed to have a square root on the bottom. So we multiply both top and bottom by the square root, and I get 22 square root of 2 all over 2. This can be reduced to become 11 square roots of 2. Now that I know what A is equal to x. I just found my answer. So x is 11 square roots of 2. We're going to do another example. This time we're going to work with 30, 60, 90 triangles. First thing you have to do is be able to put your rule in. Across the 30, the shorter side, this is my A. My hypotenuse is 2A. This side is A square roots of 3. Here's my rule. My 1, my 2, my 3. Okay, I have to know something to start with, and I do. My rule is A square roots of 3. The answer is equal to is 18. So here's the rule. Here's the given number. I set them equal to each other, and I solve for A. Solve for A. So to get this A by itself, I have to divide by the square root of 3. A equals. I'm not allowed to have a radical in the bottom of a fraction. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom to get rid of it. 18 square roots of 3 on top, 3 in the bottom. This can be simplified. 18 divided by 3 is 6, with a radical 3 next to it. I now know what my A is. Now all I have to do is finish the problem. Okay, here's what I know. D is equal to A, and F is equal to 2A. D is equal to A, F is equal to 2A, so I'm going to substitute A to the problem. D is equal to 6 square roots of 3. I'm done. F is equal to 2 times 6 square roots of 3. So F is equal to 12 square roots of 3. And I found the values of my missing variables. Okay, we're going to do another problem. This time it's going to involve some words. We're going to solve some real-world problems, and these are going to require some pictures. So don't forget, we're going to draw pictures of the words. Draw pictures of the words. Okay, we're going to read the distance from one corner to the opposite corner of a square playground. Okay, I'm going to draw a square playground. Here's my square playground. And where does this 96 feet come from? Well, that's my distance from one corner to the opposite corner. So I'm going to draw from one corner to the opposite corner, a diagonal, and this is 96 feet. To the nearest foot, how long is each side of the playground? This is what I don't know. Now here's the interesting thing. You could use Pythagorean's theorem. Or, because this is a right triangle, these have been cut in half, this is an isosceles right triangle, this must be 45, 45, 90. Because this section is working with 45, 45, 90 triangle rules, I'm going to use those rules. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in as my A, and A square roots of 2. So this is my A, this is my A, this is my A square roots of 2. What do I know? What rule is equal to what number? This. A square roots of 2 is equal to 96. I'm going to solve for A. Can't have square root on the bottom. So I get 96 square roots of 2 over 2. This can be simplified into 48 square roots of 2. I now know my missing sides. However, the way this problem is different, it says to the nearest foot. This means I get to use my calculator and actually round my answer to no decimal points. Nearest foot means no decimals. Okay, so I'm going to type in the calculator 48 times the square root of 2 into my calculator. So we're going to do that. 48 times the square root of 2 equals. My calculator says 67.88. Nearest foot means my cutoff is here. What does the 8 do to the 7? It makes it go up. So it's about, now I'm using the word about, saying I'm rounding, 68 label feet long. And I have my answer. Okay, last problem. And then you guys get 2 days to work on the homework assignment. A garden shaped like a rhombus has a perimeter of 100 feet. Now a rhombus is a lopsided square. And perimeter means all the sides add up to 100. That means this has to be 25, and this whole length also has to be 25. So 25 times 4 is 100. So here's my rhombus with each side equal to 25. It has a 60-degree angle in the corner. Find the area of the garden to the nearest square foot. Area. Now, I don't know if you guys know this. You would have to go, if you don't know how to find area of a rhombus, you'd have to look it up in a reference guide. You could look yours up in the back of your textbook, but conveniently you have Mrs. Vandertorn to be able to tell you the area of a rhombus. An area of a rhombus is equal to the base of the rhombus times the height of the rhombus. The base, I know. The base is 25 feet. The question is, what's the height? This is our missing variable. We need to know how tall this rhombus is. And notice, conveniently, we have a very special right triangle in here. If this is 90 degrees and this is 60 degrees, this must be 30 degrees. So I'm going to apply my rules of 30, 60, 90 triangles. Across from my 30 is my 1a, hypotenuse is 2a, and this side is my a square roots of 3. What do I know? What rule is equal to what given number? I know 2a is equal to 25. Solving for a, we're going to divide each side by 2. A is equal to 12.5. Now that I know what my A is, I can find what I'm trying to acquire. I'm trying to find H. Now, what I do know is that H is equal to A square roots of 3. So my H is equal to 12.5 square roots of 3. That's what I know. So now that I have my base and I know my height, I'm going to plug them into my formula. Area equals 25 times 12.5, I'm going to put this in parentheses so you know it's a decimal, times the square root of 3. They want to the nearest square foot. So once again, this means no decimals. Go ahead and take your calculator and multiply 25 times 12.5 times the square root of 3. 25 times 12.5 times the square root of 3 equals, my calculator says 541.26. Here's my cutoff. What does a 2 do to the 1? Absolutely nothing, because it's not 5 or higher. So my area is approximately 541. Now, we're dealing with area, so it's square feet. Area has squared units. And there's my final answer. Okay, we're going to spend a couple days working on this assignment. You do have homework tonight, and then tomorrow in class you get to finish it. And your homework tonight for this particular assignment is listed on the bottom. Here's the part A. This is 10 problems. And here's part B. So you have part A and part B to do. Practice, practice, practice makes perfect. So good luck. And I will definitely be here to help you when you're working on it in class tomorrow and answer any questions. All right, you guys have a great night.